Dead by Daylight is an indie horror game developed by and published by Behavior Interactive. Dead by Daylight is both an action and survival horror multiplayer game in which one crazed, unstoppable killer hunts down 4 survivors through a terrifying, nightmarish world in a deadly game of cat and mouse. That's according to the Dead by Daylight's fandom wiki. And honestly, I think it's a pretty good summation of the game. One that I would say, jokingly of course, is that Dead by Daylight is Fortnite for horror fans. I think the description is pretty accurate. It features many killers from popular horror franchises such as Ghostface from Scream, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, and then there's also some popular horror icons from the survivors such as Ash Williams, who I chose to play as for the video today. But yeah, I mean, the game itself is a pretty straight up game. You are playing as a survivor or you're playing as the killer. And if you're a survivor, your goal is to repair the gens, activate the gate to escape, and then escape. Pretty straightforward. While if you are the killer, your goal is to hunt down all the survivors, kill them one by one, stop them from repairing the gens, stop them from escaping, and sacrifice them to an evil entity. Not as straightforward, but it is still a pretty much straightforward experience for both. You are trying to kill everyone, or you are trying to escape and hopefully survive with everyone in one piece. Dead by Daylight, half a decade since the game's release, is now almost like a museum of horror. You have Ghostface, Freddy Krueger, Amanda Young, Leatherface, Pinhead from Hellraiser. There are so many horror icons. My favorite, of course, as I said previously, is Ash Williams. Ash Williams is, of course, the character from the Evil Dead franchise, who I chose to play as for this video, and as you're going to be following on with the gameplay footage, I honestly suck at playing as survivors, but I don't think that matters too much because I think the game is fun even if you suck. It's a horror game, and I feel like dying in a horror game is not as big a deal if you are the survivor, because honestly, at least to me, obviously the goal is to win, but for me, dying is just kind of part of the experience. And as Ash, I like to play more as a tank, so I usually try to get the killer to hunt me, and then everybody else can be getting the gens and stuff like that. It doesn't always work, and I only recently have been getting into Dead by Daylight. So, as you can probably see in most of the footage, I'm not doing too hot. I only really got away once in the whole hour that I played recording this video. But, you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles. But yeah, Dead by Daylight's honestly somehow able to be the ultimate horror game, I would argue at least. Like, somehow you're able to get all of these horror franchise characters in. Somehow they're able to get so many different characters from so many different horror franchises, and yet here we are with Ash Williams being hunted by Ghostface. It's just, if you are a fan of horror at all, this is a game that you have to play at least a little bit. Dead by Daylight started pretty small with their own killers, their own survivors. It was a pretty basic game at the beginning when it first launched, but being able to get Michael Myers to somehow join the game was a huge open door. First it was Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise, then later on it was exalted characters like the Evil Dead's Ash Williams, which they actually got Bruce Campbell to come in and voice the iconic character. They actually rented a recording studio near Bruce Campbell's house for him to come in and read off script lines specifically for the game. One of my favorite parts about playing Dead by Daylight as Ash Williams is the fun quips and The little things he'll say, like, Dead by Daylight is honestly an even better horror experience than going to a haunted house or going to the movies, for me at least. You can get scared together, you can work together to survive, you can play against each other, and I, as a killer, can try to kill all my friends, or one of my friends can try to kill me and some of my other friends. It honestly makes playing Dead by Daylight very, very fun. It's especially a little strange sometimes to be killing people as Ghostface, and those people would be someone like Detective David Tapp or Nancy Wheeler and Steve Harrington. It's a strange experience, but it's a fun experience, and I think that is a core strength of Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight is a very surreal experience for any horror fan like I am. But it's a very fun experience, and I think just looking at the gameplay, you should be able to tell just how fun and addictive the game can be. It's a very simplistic game overall, but because of that simplicity, it's a game you can always go back to and get the same thrills that you got the day you started playing. Yeah, you get a little bit better at surviving, but the killers also get a little bit better at killing, so Dead by Daylight's developers, Behavior Interactive, started pretty small. Founded in 1992. They are Canada's largest independent game developer and publisher. The company nowadays, since it has grown, now boasts over 1,000 employees thanks to Dead by Daylight's success, and has studios in Montreal, and Toronto. In 2022, its most successful IP, the award-winning Dead by Daylight, now has 50 million players. It's impossible to say how much this franchise has improved since its early days, starting out pretty small with some run-of-the-mill killers that are very derivative of popular horror icons. Dead by Daylight now is honestly the ultimate experience in horror in gaming for me. It has characters from Resident Evil. It has characters from Stranger Things. It has characters from Evil Dead. It has characters from Scream. It has everything you could possibly want. And while the game isn't necessarily as scary as it was for me when I first started playing it, I think that it is still as fun as it ever has been. And there is nothing like being a survivor and going up against a real experienced player, or being a killer and going up against a really experienced team of survivors. It's honestly a very fun experience, and if you get the right friend group, you get the right killers, it's a fun experience. And I think anybody who's ever played a horror game should give Dead by Daylight a chance. Anyway, that's all for this week. Just don't forget to like and subscribe, and next week we'll be moving on to something else. But this week, we were playing multiplayer games, and this was a fun experience to just be playing a multiplayer game like this. It was a good shake-up from having to be kind of alone in all this, and I'm looking forward to doing something like this in the future. Anyway, have a good week, and may the Force be with you.